Hi. If you know me as a person for a while now, you will realize throughout the course of our conversation that I'm very supportive of refugees and refugee rights. But I hadn't always been this way, Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my journey of, how I got to this position from what I was before. See, about roughly a decade ago, when I moved to Australia, I came to this point, right, when I'd been living here for a couple of years and I wanted to apply for permanent residency. Before that, I wanted to apply for a student visa because I first came here on a temporary visa myself. So what I realized was each time I was gonna apply for a new visa, so from the temporary to the student visa, from the student to the permanent residency visa, I realized that it was very bothersome. There were a lot of steps to go through, and this really annoyed the hell out of me because it's as though they're intentionally making it hard. So you needed to get police clearance, you needed to get English language certification, do the IELTS test, you need to have all kinds of health tests, and basically it was pretty difficult and time consuming and uncertain as well, right? So at that point of time, the issue of refugees was in the media, although it wasn't in the media very much, right? And at that time, Australians generally were very anti-refugee. And so I bought into the rhetoric, unfortunately. Because the way I perceived it, right, at that point of time, not right now, the way I perceived it is that refugees are economic migrants. So at that time, that was what I thought, that, they simply went on a boat and then the boat arrived in Australia, and within 2 years, they get resettled here and become citizens. And I think part of the misinformation was not just from the media, but some people whom I've met, whom I suspected were refugees before, but suddenly, they said, oh, I'm an Australian citizen. And some of them I knew were refugees before, and they got citizenship. So in my mind, at that time, in my narrow-mindedness, I thought that, this was the way things operated. So I even thought to myself, hey, if I really wanted to migrate here to Australia, why do I have to go through all these steps? Why can't I just, hop on a boat and then just arrive in Australia, and 2 years later, bam, with no effort, I get my visa, right? So I know it's extremely ignorant, but that was how it was at that time. And I wasn't the only one. There were a lot of people who have subsequently reversed their opinion on refugee rights, but at that time, they were feeling that way as well. So it was only slightly later when I learned about the issues more and what they actually face. That was when I was able to empathize with them as a human before anything else. So at the end of the day, if you think that they're also humans, and the other thing is, there must be a reason why they want to come to Australia. A lot of the times they don't specifically say, okay, Australia, only Australia. They just want to be somewhere where they and their families can be safe, away from persecution. So at that time, about a decade ago, I didn't actually realize any of that. I just thought they were economic migrants. So what I learned from this whole thing was that I was able, that at that time, I only looked at things from my own perspective. Why is it so difficult for me to get this permanent resident status? Why do I have to go through all these hoops? Why does the government have to, put so many barriers in the way? It was all about me. And so, looking back, I'm a bit embarrassed about my viewpoint then, but hey, life is about constantly educating yourself, constantly becoming a better person. And so now, since I've already got, my permanent residency and I'm living here in Australia, I was able to look back and go, yes, I had to jump through hoops to get where I am in terms of my visa. But that isn't actually, the fault of refugees or anyone else. It was just what the immigration department had to do. Granted, they're not the most efficient, but that's life, right? So I was able to be able to understand the plight of refugees more when I learned a little bit more about the issue. So my charge to you is, whatever your viewpoint is, if you're anti-refugees, anti-immigrants, try to look at it from their perspective as well. I'm not saying that it's a simple issue that can be solved that easily. There'll always be complications, but just try to, walk in their shoes for a while, and after a while you might have a little bit of an awakening in your mind. And so I hope you enjoyed what I've presented today, and I hope this helps or inspires you in some way. Thank you very much. Did you enjoy the video? If you did, please consider supporting my business by engaging with me on social media at the links provided below. One more thing, are you looking to get in shape or know someone who is? If yes, head on to granitefitness.com.au for access to some free videos on getting in shape. Your support is appreciated. Have a good day, and I hope to entertain you again soon.